Hello everyone, this is CJ with Cycletron. Well, Harley Davidson's been pretty busy here lately. They just announced their new Sportster S based on the 1250 Revolution Max liquid-cooled engine, the same engine that just went in the Pan America, although the tuning's slightly different for the Sportster S. So, since 1957, the Sportsters have obviously been air-cooled. It's pretty interesting that Harley's retained the Sportster name. I mean, pretty much everyone knew they were going to be up to something. They dropped the Sportster name from their website for the last 6 months, and they teased the 1250 liquid cooled custom, which is now the Sportster S. We know. They also last year killed off the Bronx engine based on the smaller Revolution Max engine, so it'll be interesting to see if they'll come out with a smaller Sportster S model with the smaller Revolution Max engine. So what we know so far, based on Harley's announcement and their website, is that they've got this Sportster S priced at $15,000. The color options, aside from Vivid Black, will be the white or the maroon color, Midnight Crimson or White Pearl as they call them. Those will add $350 to the price. And of course, you're going to have dealers charging more, undoubtedly, over MSRP as these bikes show up in dealerships later this year. This is listed as a 2021 model. I think it's going to be a great bike. I think there's going to be a lot of performance. Goes into the power cruiser category. The closest competition I'd say would be the Indian FTR or the Indian Scout. Of course, both of those are liquid cooled engines. I think this Harley's going to have way better performance than the Scout. It may be on par with the FTR. Some other interesting things that Harley's done here is they've introduced the full color 4-inch diameter TFT display where you can have turn-by-turn navigation. It's got ride modes. The website lists this bike coming in at 502 pounds wet weight. So about 121 horsepower, 94 foot-pounds of torque. So this will be a high-performing bike, no question. So is this going to upset people that Harley Davidson used the Sportster name on a liquid-cooled engine? I mean, it really shouldn't be a surprise. Going back to last year, Harley was unable to sell the Sportsters in Europe because of Euro 5 emission standards. So they had to do something, and the Sportster name has a lot of value as a brand, so there was no way they were just going to sunset that name and not use it on other models. So I think this is a good step forward for them. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about this bike. I'm guessing this is one of these bikes that's going to look way better in person. It looks a lot like the Fat Bob with that LED headlight. It's got the high exhaust like a scrambler style bike would have. Just looking at the pictures of it doesn't really grab me, although I would say it's growing on me. But I'm not really in the market for this type of bike. I guess other competition might be, could I say a Triumph Scrambler to a certain degree, or a Ducati Diavel. I mean, that's maybe a stretch, but in terms of performance and general styling, I think those are comparable bikes. I think this is really interesting. I'm curious to see how well it's received. What do you all think of this bike? Would you consider getting a bike like this? I mean, I think for an urban setting, this bike would be a blast. Might be difficult to tour on it. It'd be interesting to see what kind of baggage or luggage options they might have for this bike down the road. I mean, Sportster's never really been known to be a touring bike, but certainly hear a lot of stories of people going cross country on them. I mean, that's its own thing. But this is primarily an in-town power cruiser style bike. And I think a lot of people would look at this bike and choose it over a traditional Japanese sport bike, as an example. So Harley's got this long video think it's 12 or 13 minutes long, showing the history of the Sportster and going into the detail of how they developed this motorcycle. It's a pretty interesting video. To get access to it, you have to fill out your contact information on their website, and then you'll have access to the video. I'm showing clips from this video here in the background. But obviously the Sportster has a long history. They want to capitalize on that history with the branding. Obviously this is a completely different type of motorcycle. But again, I think it should do very well. I'm glad to see Harley shaking things up and introducing models throughout the year and not just dumping everything at the annual model launch. So we've had in January the 2021 models, then we had the Pan America, and now we have the Sportster S. So that's a pretty full year. Don't know if there's anything else really coming down the pike for this year, but certainly maybe more to come early next year. So again, what do you think about this? I suspect that there'll be some people that are going to be upset about this motorcycle using the Sportster name, but things change, time moves on. I think it's probably overdue for them to have done something radical with the Sportster. I mean, the fact is, you've got 60 plus model years to choose from if you want to go back and get a air-cooled Sportster. In fact, I'm working on restoring a 2020 Roadster if I could ever get the parts in. That's a whole other story. So there's plenty of air-cooled Sportsters out there for people who like the more traditional type engine and styling on the motorcycle. But I think this is a real step forward for Harley Davidson. I'm glad to see it. Again, the styling doesn't really appeal to me so much on the bike, although I think the tank graphics and the engine color accents are awesome on this motorcycle. So they've made some bold statements with this bike. It's got a 16-inch wheel up front, 17-inch wheel in the back. It's a belt drive. I think this will be a pretty fast bike. They haven't released the actual 0 to 60 times on it yet, but I suspect it's going to be in the 3.5 second territory if I had to guess, 0 to 60 times. So again, do you see yourself getting a type of motorcycle like this? If you already got a Harley Davidson touring motorcycle, would you get this as a second bike for in-town riding? So again, please let me know your thoughts, and look for this bike in showrooms in the coming months. Thanks for watching, everyone.